A humanitarian truce is officially in effect in Gaza to allow aid supplies in and to recover the dead and wounded. Israel and Hamas agreed to hold fire for 12 hours, but none of the previous pauses in fighting have held. Well, Paula Sleer joins us now from Jerusalem.
Were killed by Israeli shelling. There were also rockets fired at Israel. There have been sirens sounding in the south and central of the country. But since the truce has become effective, there does seem to be a lull in hostilities. It is, of course, difficult to tell whether or not fighting has indeed stopped in all parts of Gaza City. In the moments immediately following the start of this truce, hundreds of Gazans poured into the streets. They have been lining up in front of shops and banks and ATMs, withdrawing cash and stockpiling on food and other emergency supplies. So certainly the fear on the ground is that hostilities and this Israeli ground operation will continue and continue for some time to come. The agreement from the Israeli side is that for the next 12 hours, its soldiers will remain inside Gaza. They will continue looking for tunnels, but that they will not explode them, and Israel will hold its fire. This is a UN-brokered humanitarian truce. The idea is to allow UN aid workers in and out of Gaza. They are bringing with them emergency supplies such as medicines for the hospitals that have practically run out. It is also an opportunity to evacuate the injured, and it's also a chance for people to bury their dead, put forward by the US Secretary of State John Kerry. But Israel has already rejected that proposal in its current form. What Hamas wants is a total lifting of Israel's siege on Gaza that has been in place for the past 8 years, and Israel rejects this outright. It says there can be no preconditions. Hamas also wants to see people who were recently arrested released, and it also wants to see fishing rights to people using the waters off Gaza extended. What the Israelis want for their side, if indeed this week-long ceasefire is to be implemented, is that its soldiers will remain inside Gaza. Now, the US Secretary of State was in Cairo on Friday. That was where the first version of this 7-day ceasefire was hammered out. As I mentioned, Israel has rejected it. There is going to be a meeting later on Saturday in Paris. It will be attended by the foreign ministers of Turkey and Qatar, who support Hamas, and a high-level political delegation from both France and from the UK. Now, that is a meeting that is being brokered by the US Secretary of State. It's difficult at this stage and questionable whether or not something will come out of it. But if indeed something happens, that will be the next step. But I must mention that aside from all this kind of diplomatic flurry that is happening, the tensions on the ground are extremely high, and the situation continues to skyrocket.
OK, thank you, Paula. That's RT's Paula Sleer live from Jerusalem.